What makes a memorable movie moment? What causes a film to stay with us for months, years, or even a lifetime after watching? Sometimes an actor's performance is enough. Sometimes the choice of music is what solidifies a scene's timelessness. Other times it's a shot, an image that we simply can't forget. And sometimes it's just an absence, a question that lingers. The point is, there are many ways to leave an audience thinking about your film for a long time. Today, I want to talk about one of the most reliable, the plot twist. This is the household name of narrative devices, a phrase so ubiquitous it has made its way into our daily vocabulary. Everyone knows a plot can do two things. It can thicken and it can twist. Truly great plot twists can even enter a quantum state, in a superposition of both thickening and twisting. But that's a whole different conversation. What matters is that a well-executed plot twist, if done correctly, rewrites history and creates perspective instantaneously. It leaves the audience reeling in the best way possible, unsure of everything they thought they knew. Now, I'm not talking about the basic suspicious mentor from the first act turns out to be evil thing.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave!
I'm talking about true subversion. Ask people for the best plot twists ever, and you may hear answers like Fight Club, Primal Fear, or Shutter Island. All great films, but none, in my perhaps controversial opinion, are the best examples. My hot take is that the greatest cinema plot twist of all time comes in none other than Forrest Gump. Yes, I do mean the film about the guy who likes running and chocolate. I could talk about this film for hours, about how a film like this just shouldn't work, how on paper Hollywood and audiences alike should have rejected it like a bad organ, how a cynical person like myself should hate it with every fibre of my being. But instead, I love it, and it's one of the most successful films of all time.
And the Oscar goes to Forrest Gump.
Now, this film is about a lot of things. War, disability, discrimination, AIDS, table tennis, but fundamentally it's about constraints, particularly the mental constraints and limits that we as humans and society place on ourselves and each other, and what happens when an individual comes along who is uniquely unaware of them. Let me explain. In the late 1940s, there was a maths student at Berkeley University named George Danzig. One day, he arrived late to a lecture and found two maths problems written on the board. Danzig assumed they were the homework for that week and jotted them down. After working on them for several days, Danzig solved the problems and submitted his answers to the professor. It was only then that he was told that these had not in fact been the homework, but were two of the most major unsolved problems in statistics. One of them, known as the Danzig-Wolff decomposition theorem, became a fundamental result in optimization theory. The message in this story is that the mental limits we set ourselves are more powerful than we usually imagine. Most mathematicians were told these problems were unsolvable, and thus they remained unsolved. Danzig was told they were his homework, so he just did his homework. Leads back to the cliche, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. A similar message is presented in Forrest Gump. Forrest, like Danzig, approaches the problems of life without context. Due to his condition, he is not limited by the same mental or social constraints that most people are. He appears to have no awareness of consequence or danger, and because of this, we see him achieve incredible things. He's told to run, so he runs unafraid and right into the role of college football star. On the battlefield, seemingly blind to his likely death, he acts with tunnel vision, saving his comrades and running through gunfire. This pattern continues as the film progresses, and we repeatedly see how Forrest's lack of care, his unawareness of social norms or limits, leads him in many ways, and by many metrics, to complete life. He becomes a multi-sport champion, a war hero, and even a millionaire. To further ram home this message, the film draws a stark contrast between Forrest and those who most represent the worries and constraints of society. Jenny and Lieutenant Dan are two of the biggest examples. Both, unlike Forrest, live in the real world, and are constantly trying to educate Forrest on how to behave like everyone else. But while Forrest is on his path to greatness, we see almost nothing but suffering for these two. Their beliefs and constraints render them miserable and constantly plagued by worry, while Forrest continues unperturbed. And so the message appears obvious to us. We must be more like Forrest. Ignorance is bliss, and we must attack life with less care for what might go wrong. A strong message, it must be said, but not a perfect one. Because fundamentally, we can't be like Forrest. We can't just switch off the parts of our brain that worry or ruminate. We are all simply too aware to be free. If this were the message, it might be one people admire for a moment after watching, but it certainly wouldn't allow the film to have had the impact that it did. But then it happens. The greatest plot twist of all time. I'd watched it so many times and never understood why this scene had the impact on me that it did. There are other much more emotional parts of the story, but I kept finding myself unable to forget this moment. In the final act of the film, Jenny tells Forrest he has a son, and in one line, one single line, half a line even, the entire perspective, the entire message of the film is flipped on its head.
Is he smart?
He's very smart. He's one of the smartest in his class.
Is he smart, or is he? In this one half line, we learn two things that completely reshape the whole of the film. Firstly, Forrest is not blind or ignorant, but instead painfully aware of his limitations, of his shortcomings, and of his differences. And second, that despite all his success, he doesn't want the life he's had for his son. These revelations change our entire perspective of the story, and do so in a way so subtle that we almost don't realise it's happened. The lesson is not ignorance is bliss. Forrest doesn't run into danger, doesn't try new things or achieve greatness by being unaware. No, he does it because of something much more powerful. The reason this plot twist is so impactful, the thing that elevates this moment so much, that makes it stay with you for so long after watching, is not just the subtlety with which it is delivered, but that it leaves you with an even more inspiring message. In this moment, the film goes from saying, maybe we should all care a little less, to saying, maybe we should all believe a little more. And that is something everyone can actually do. I hope you liked this video. If you did, it would be great if you could like and subscribe. I'm quite new to this, but I appreciate any comments or advice. And yeah, thank you for watching.